Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to an awesome, rousing episode 163 of the Dudes and Beer podcast. I'm Chris Jordan, your host, here in Austin, Texas this week. Back home for a little while. Here with Stephen Bishop, as always, as well as Julie Bishop.
Julie Conley.
Julie Conley, Julie Bishop. Woo!
What a way to start a show.
It's been a little while since I've been home. Hey, everybody.
Surprise!
As well as our special guest, Robert Mace, Associate Director, Chief Water Policy Officer at Texas State University. And we will be talking about water. What is water? Why do we need water? Like, why is water so absolutely important to life?
You better know the answer to that one.
Why should we actually want clean water? You know?
If we don't have water, we don't have beer.
That's true.
And if we don't have beer, I'm going to kill you all.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the way this guy thinks.
Unexpectedly violent.
I like it.
And I like it.
I
like your attitude.
Hops
There's a
and
good
grain.
reason.
Hops and grain.
We do have a smattering of hops and grain on the table
do.
tonight.
Schmattering.
I've been bringing quite a bit of Zoe on my flights. Recently had my bag inspected by the TSA, and all that was inside of it was a 12-pack of Zoe. That's what I fly Southwest, so I get to check 2 bags, and there in my Pelican was a few things in my zip bags. And other than that, it was 2 Ziploc gallon bags with a 6-pack
Zoe,
each
I love it.
of Zoe. And it was like, here's my TSA inspection sticker, and there's my 12-pack. I was like, oh, thank you guys. You let my beer make it through. So we want to give some huge props out to our friends at Hops and Grain.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some of their river beer on the table. Of
I'm having
course,
great
some
river
Zoe,
beer tonight.
the one and only, as well as the Porter Culture,
Yummy.
which we were talking about before the show. That like when we first all tried it, it was one of those like, I don't know. But then like after about the second or third night of us having one, it was like, wow, that Porter Culture is
really
just
good.
really good.
Culture is the first porter beer that I've drank and that I would go back and drink more ago.
Like,
you know?
intentionally. Like, I actually went to Hops and Grain.
Like, I've never drank a porter before that I enjoyed. You know?
And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight. There's, of course, some stuff that's been in the news, you know, the horrifying situation down in Santa Fe, down near Galveston with all the children in the shooting. Many prayers to everybody there involved with that and to the whole community as they heal, as well as the more news coming out about Google and just their mass data collection, saying that they came out this last
week. Can we
week
just start calling them Skynet?
and that's what the last episode was about exactly. Was when are we just going to call a spade and say that, okay, we're just building Skynet,
right?
Like it's done already.
Yeah.
And then we also have the awesome news that this week coming up Friday will be a panel on tips and tricks in podcast recording and in podcasting by the HC Universal Network. I will be there. Amy Jordan from the Yes But Why podcast will be there.
Sounds cool.
Talking about how to reach your audience on social media. Billy Stewart from the Scary Dad podcast. Shout out to our buddy Billy. Will be there to talk about what it is to find a niche audience and really follow your passion with what you do with the podcast. And of course, I'm in there in my capacity as a producer and, you know, just general like, hey, these are some recording tips and tricks, and this is how you may want to get distribution done. That kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah?
So
You do stuff like that, huh?
a little bit.
I kind of
just a little bit.
You might know a little bit of something.
Yeah. So if you are in the Houston area, make sure to stop by the awesomeness that is Comic Palooza Friday from 11 to noon and check out that great panel if podcasting is your thing and something that you're into checking out. So with that in mind, let's turn over to Robert Mace real quick and ask him, number one, what was it, other than being alive and needing to drink it every 20-something hours to live, that got you into water?
It was no joke, goth.
All right.
Yeah.
Goth.
Groove.
Really?
Yeah,
Groove.
I was a goth in college.
No way.
Rock on.
No way.
You were
Favorite
like
band?
crying so much that you needed to
Favorite band?
continually drink
You know,
water,
it's-
and you were like, "Oh, okay."
Dude.
Well, that was pre-water. Those were my pre-water days. I was,
Okay.
I was a geophysics
I didn't see this coming.
major.
Okay.
I was kind of heading towards a
Really
career in
shunned
oil
light and water.
gas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was heading towards oil and gas.
Goths, dude.
It's a dark liquid.
With the
dark liquid.
With the conferences that I work, I could totally imagine some goth guy coming in to give a friggin' PowerPoint.
That's cool.
So yeah, everybody, here's the numbers for this last month.
Life is shit. I may as well be.
It's completely dour. Look at it.
Yes.
I can totally visualize that right now.
So you were a goth.
So I was a goth, and I was working in the cafeteria,
Which
is kind of cool.
No, I worked in the cafeteria.
I was
It's good
washing
stuff.
dishes, so it's kind of
Water.
cool because I always had my hands in water.
Yeah.
And, I was all gothed out. I had the Robert Smith hair, the
Oh,
black
cool.
eyeliner,
Yeah.
the trench coat, the
You just
black,
had a birthday.
the requisite Joy Division t-shirt.
Nice.
And I was just like, man, I want a real job,
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with washing dishes, working in the cafeteria, but, I went to this school in the middle of the desert in New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology. Get real experience. And so my coworker was like, you need to find out who that Olivia works for. And Olivia was a girl on campus that had an explosion of hair. She had the
I was going to say big explosive school.
Kind of the 80s style?
well, it was Robert Smithy.
Yeah.
It was 80s. We're talking 80s.
You're right.
This is mid 80s.
Big hair.
And she was kind of cute in a small gene pool.
I like her
kind of
already.
way.
I like
And,
her already.
She's in New Mexico 10 and in Texas 4.
She was
Snap.
she was cute. She was cute.
She's a
So
10 in my
anyways,
book.
So I figured out who she worked for, and it was this professor, Dan Stevens. And so I was like, well, he hires people with weird hair.
Yeah.
So I looked.
Sounds
he's
like Dan
hey,
Halen.
He's got a job posted. I applied and I got it. The rest is history.
No way.
Yeah. And
Holy cow.
And what was that job doing?
it was
You're not
helping.
married to this
it was
girl who's
helping-
actually a 10,
No, actually.
right?
Well, it turned out she had a pretty good boyfriend she had a
Good,
baby with
good.
and all that
Okay.
stuff. So yeah, it was
Yeah, I
just,
got some anchors in there.
kind of backed off at that point.
One more reason to sit back and listen to the Smiths on a Friday night.
Testing my water, getting closer to her. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, I was helping graduate students on different water projects. So
Okay.
some of it was, like mine leaching and where do
Sure.
you go, how do you clean it up, and how water moves through sands and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was, I was like, these water people are kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like people with weird hair, and the work was good, and the graduate students were good, and so
All
I
right.
ended up turning that into a master's degree, and then a PhD here at UT.
Okay.
Dude, that's sick.
Great.
So, and today is World Goth Day. By the way.
Nice.
No, are you joking?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
joking?
I'm dead serious.
We nailed
I'm
it.
dead serious.
That is great.
Couldn't have had a
That is
better
great.
day to do this
Come
podcast.
full circle.
So yeah.
Dude, that is so cool.
Well, and as you've grown, quite obviously your scope of career has grown. The places you've gone are far from helping just mere college students with their dissertations, things like that, with making sure that lab work was turned in on time, that kind of stuff. Now you're into policy creation, that kind of stuff. What was it like for you to choose that path amongst things, as opposed to like if I was to go into stuff, for instance, when I was in high school, I was not mathematically inclined, as would be evident.
You didn't
by
get
my
2 plus
scores.
2, bro?
Oh no, that math I
No,
got.
then he's going to argue it's not really
No.
4, and here's 97
No.
reasons why. The teacher's like, you know what? Forget it. You got an A.
Back in
No.
the day, churches
No.
said 2 plus 2 was 222 back in the day.
That's right. But no, for me, it was the fact of I conceptually got chemistry. I did not mathematically grasp chemistry.
I think Liam's in
Beyond
that boat right now.
mathematically, like calculating molar concentration of an acid with like Avogadro's number or
That's
something
me
like
with
that.
music, you know.
It was beyond me, a lot of it, but I got the concept. So we had this class that they started called Chemistry in the Community, where it was much more focused on practical applications of chemistry, like being able to test salinity of soil, being able to test water purity, things like that. Things that like ecologically would mean, like if you had a lawn to take care of, would absolutely make a great difference in your neighborhood. You know, if everybody understood how to test their water for acids and bases and how to treat it to keep their grass
That would be
alive.
really useful for everybody to
Instead
know.
of using
That'd
a
be
bunch of
awesome.
chemicals and weed killers.
Yeah.
You know, things that they can do like that. So
We just embrace the weeds.
yeah, it was interesting to go through that kind of chemistry. But then once I got to college, it was, of course, again, like, welcome to organic chemistry. It was like, yeah, I know that.
Welcome to the machine.
I will get spit out so quick. What chemistry? What do I have to pass so I can be done with science, please?
Liam's taking hydroponics next year.
so
for that.
Want you on your
Nice.
knees.
what was it that brought you from that point to the point of wanting to go into policy creation and, like Stephen said, into the machine part of it?
You know, it's probably true of most people. You know, you get out there. I mean, you know, you never really figure out what you want to be when you grow up. You know,
Exactly.
you're just out there, you're living life, and you're like, I don't like this. You know, I don't like organic chemistry, and I'm not a big fan of chemistry either. I lean towards physical processes and numerical processes, but you know, just kind of trial and error, finding myself in situations to where, you know, really liked working with people. And people that were out there making policy decisions on what to do with their water, and so because I was had something of a talent to be able to explain the science to them, kind of help get them where they needed to be with the technical background, decided I really loved that. And, you know, that got me into a job at the state, or pulled me into the state, and then you know, wound up moving up the chain of command to where I just got broader and broader experience about things. And you know, you give me 1 hour with the internet, and I'd be an expert on anything.
Yep.
That's how Chris came about.
That's what it's for, man. That's what it's for.
So yeah, testify to the legislature, provide support to the legislature, and
Great.
and policymakers, mayors, river authorities, groundwater conservation districts.
Well, and that's the thing. We were talking before the show, and like I said, we were talking for about 20 minutes, and it was like, oh my God, the microphone should just be rolling.
Yeah.
Like
I was
whether we're
thinking that
live or
same
not, this
thing.
is just gold.
We always say that.
It's great stuff. Because some of the best stuff happens off mic, and it really does. But I love that just being the moment that it is and going into something different. But going back to some of that, you know, there is so much that people do not realize that goes into water processing, water as a resource for both city and local government. What kind of funds are tied up with that? What kind of politics are even involved? Like here in Austin, like we were saying beforehand, a lot of people think our water comes from Barton Springs and stuff like that, and it's like, no,
Bunch of boneheads.
it comes from up north, which is why these rice farmers are always complaining about, we need money to be able to make our money as rice farmers.
Like,
but
maybe don't be a rice farmer in Texas.
well, it depends on where you are in Texas.
Right,
though.
not around Central Texas.
Yeah. I mean, the hill country is a little bit tougher. It's considerably hotter and less humid than it is in, like, Katy. A little bit easier to keep a marshy landscape in Katy
it's wetter.
than it is
We love our marsh.
here. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with, like we were saying, the natural rock that's here as opposed to a bunch of ground soil. You have a lot more exposed ground rock, bedrock, limestone, things like that, where sure aquifers exist, water exists, but it's not necessarily like well water, that kind of stuff where you can just like drill down and tap into some water. And explain that difference to people. Explain what it is to find water, and how hard it is to come across that.
Well, on the groundwater side, mysterious and occult, which was words used by the Texas Supreme Court over 100 years ago describing the management of groundwater, but you can't see it. It's underneath your feet. Mm-hmm. It's hard to have a good feel for what it is. Now, fortunately, there's been a lot of brave souls that have drilled holes and seen where the rock layers are. And you can get water, it might be shallow, which could have some issues. If you're putting a lot of pesticides or herbicides on your lawn, there's farmers nearby, your dog's crapping over in the back corner of the yard and it's seeping into your shallow well. Yeah. Or there can be really deep water that's many thousands of years old. It's isolated from, what terrible things we humans are doing on the land surface. And you can produce that water and it's perfectly fine water. Yeah. On the other hand, there's natural water in parts of Texas, particularly south central Texas, where there's arsenic, levels that would be bad for your health, or nitrogen, naturally occurring nitrogen levels. So it's good to get your water tested if you're on a water well, just to see what's in there. Yeah. It used to be a little harder to do, but just last week I saw that there's some online companies where you can get your water, sample it and test it. Sure. Mm-hmm. Send it to them in an inert bottle.
See if you can drink it, or if it's just for watering plants, or if you just leave it alone entirely.
But as a scientist, we have all this well information that we use to kind of tease out, hey, here's where we think the water is. If you deal with a well driller that just from experience of drilling in an area, they'll know you go down about 300 feet, you're gonna run into some good water.
You ain't gonna do it all. It's like not every time, right?
Right. And then, of course, there's water witching.
Yeah. It's like you knew where I was going to go. Which is a centuries old practice. I'm not going to say utterly discredit.
Did you say it's like 0.01% that they might, just by accident, get it right?
It's and
by accident,
right?
A lot of times you're gonna find groundwater. You drill a well, you're gonna find groundwater. Yeah. It might not be the right quality, might not be the right amount, but you're going to find something. Sure. But there have been scientific studies of, folks with water, but maybe they had the wrong water witchers. I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah, right.
Fake water witchers. I was, when I first started at the Water Development Board, one of the first projects I worked on was helping Blanco with the water supply problem. Mm-hmm. And, the mayor had hired a water witcher, and they were doing drive-by water witching. So they hung that dude out the side of the Suburban and just drove around town.
That's such a bizarre use of money.
If it was that easy, why don't they do that everywhere? Tell everybody.
Just map it all out.
Right there.
What was the success rate on that?
It didn't work.
Well, because like we were saying earlier, there is exposed bedrock in that area. You don't have a whole lot of ground.
But then who's doing the drilling?
You don't have 300 feet of soil before you hit rock.
Yeah, and then do they have the money to do it?
This is why people don't like scientists, because I looked at the data, because there was all this crazy stuff going on up there, and I'm like,
numbers.
What does the data say? Pull the database, look at well yields, all this stuff.
I go by the numbers.
I'm like, there's less than a 0.1% chance that you're going to find a well that's going to produce the amount of water.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I was saying before the show, myself, as at one point a very avid fisherman in life, since I have moved back to Texas from Maine, I have done almost no fishing because of the drought conditions we've been in for almost the last decade. Mm-hmm. It's just now gotten to the point we only have I think, 2 natural lakes in Texas, or does only Sam Rayburn?
It's not Sam Rayburn. I'm trying to think what the...
Yeah.
There's another one
you're
that's
correct.
reported
It's
to
not
be...
Sam Rayburn. Yeah.
There's another one...
I'm sure I can look
because I know we live right here next to one of the only constant level lakes in Texas.
Although they don't like to call them constant level anymore.
Yeah, because it kind of sounds like hey, we're going to take the water and guarantee that you have some waterfront property. And that was one of those things that killed me as a kid.
Caddo?
What's that?
Yeah, Caddo. But it's not natural either. That was it was kind of natural. It was like a log jam created lake.
It was created by the New Madrid earthquakes in 1811.
Oh, wow.
I'm just going by the internet. an hour on the internet. Now I'm an expert in the lake.
That wasn't even an hour. That was less than a beer.
Put that down, Julie. You're wrecking my story.
I'm super good at Googling things.
Yeah.
Check this out. 2,000 hours on the internet. You're an expert on the internet.
It would drive me nuts going out to like the country club way up in. As someone who went to camp in Marble Falls and spent time at the springs, Krause Springs, all that kind of stuff.
You'd be doing at springs.
Those were some of my best memories as a kid. And to go up there now and see like trickles. You know, now it's much more raging than what it was 5-6 years ago. But to go up there 6 years ago was it was heart-wrenching. It was killing. To drive over the lake and see people's boat houses, their floating boat houses, literally out in the middle of the lake bed with no water.
Yeah, that's sad.
And it was just like...
That was a scary time.
Wow. Like, as a sportsman, as someone who loves fishing... like grew up doing it just out of responsibility. I did not have I may put a line in the water at my uncle's house, but I ain't keeping nothing. Like I said, it was all way too deoxygenated for me to want to keep it and eat it.
That was a scary time too.
Yeah.
And and Austin has all its eggs in one basket on water supply.
Yeah.
It's the
Get into
lakes.
that a little bit because not a lot of people realize that. Whenever I first moved here was right as the brownouts were happening, the rolling brownouts.
The rolling brownouts.
Yes. And exactly, but it was one of those like people didn't realize that we shared an electric grid until that started happening. They didn't realize that like we purchased power from other people to support our city. Like this is how we sustain it.
Like who did we buy it from?
Like it's no different from Mexico.
Oh, okay, all right.
We bought power from plants in Mexico, and it was diverted up to us.
Wow, see, this is something that a lot of people don't know.
It's a lot about regulated markets, things like that. I mean, it's a lot of what Enron was doing in freaking California that they got busted for.
Enron, holy cow, that was a sham.
Ended up being so, but it was the beginning of a market regulation on resources.
Oh.
You see, and we've almost gotten the same way with water in a lot of places where when you're talking about in cities in California, you cannot collect rainwater because anything that falls from the sky to the street belongs to the city.
Oh,
it doesn't belong to you.
That's why.
Yeah, Colorado. That way, although they're allowing folks to collect like a couple barrels.
Yeah,
full.
you're allowed. I think like 30 to 50 gallons per like three person family.
Yeah, it's
home.
interesting. Like all ties back to these state constitutions on who owns the water. So in Texas,
on mineral rights and God, man, we had water wars and still have water wars in Texas.
Oh yeah,
you get down to South Texas near the border with cattle property.
There's a saying in the water subculture. And I'll modify it for the moment.
Yeah.
Beer is for drinking, water's for fighting.
Yeah.
There's lots of water fights. I mean, we're fighting New Mexico over the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
We've been having fights with Mexico for half a century.
Yeah.
Over them not honoring treaty between the United States and Mexico.
Absolutely.
And we've fought in the past.
That's why we should have just made it as Texas. Get some business done, damn it.
There you go.
No comment.
Anyway, go ahead.
That's one you don't want to comment on.
But yeah, I mean, people don't realize the active backyard battle that is going on for this resource that they take advantage
like backyard wrestlers
on a daily.
So let me tell you what's going on with Austin.
Go ahead.
So I'm on a committee for the city called the Austin Water Forward Task Force, and it's an advisory committee to the water utility to put together a 100-year water plan for Austin. So Austin proper, we're not talking about the burbs, just Austin proper is right now about 1 million people. 50 years, add 1 million, so it'll be 2 million. 100 years, they project 4 million people.
Yep. It'll be almost what Houston is now.
And Houston will be more than Houston is now.
Houston will be like almost the conglomerate population of Texas by that point.
Houston,
it'll be up into like the 12, 13 million area. It'll be massive.
the city, interesting enough, despite what happened to the lakes last drought, has a lot of water. The issue with the rice farmers there is that surface water rights, surface water is owned by the state, but individuals or entities own the right to use that water, and it's private property.
Yeah.
So I can sell it to you.
That's right.
And so there was and the reservoirs were originally built for power, flood control, and for providing water to those folks downstream.
So they kind of got grandfathered in.
So there was a deal. El Cerro Austin, bought one of those water rights, and part of the deal with the rice farmers is that because Austin is going to take a while to grow into that water right, is that they can use the water when it's available for rice farming, rather than not having it go to anything.
Yeah.
I think the problem what happened with this last drought, the way these systems typically are managed, like the reservoirs, is they model them with a repeat of the drought of record, which was the drought of the 50s. The drought of the 50s was long drought, and it ended with a sucker punch. We went into it, got worse, and then bam, the last year was a sucker punch.
Yeah, just
this recent
hurricanes
drought,
and
and then it came back up. Yeah. Well, this most recent drought started in 2010, but really took off in 2011.
Yeah,
the sucker punch came up front. That was the worst one-year drought in the state's history.
Yeah,
and so that had
it was bad.
Yeah, it started out bad.
So Bastrop Fire, all kinds of
dry
stuff,
and came out slowly.
Yeah,
and so that was scary because El Cerro was releasing water per their agreement and contract.
That throws everything off, right?
But we had no water.
Yes. Everything off.
That was all off right there. The one you don't expect, boom, it's over. There goes the plan,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that brings us to the point of legislation, policies. Where does especially things like agriculture, which of course is huge in Texas, from cotton to sorghum to everything in between. But not only that, where does the craft brewing industry fall into this? Because, of course, in order to make this beautiful brew that we are enjoying today, you got to have good, not just water. You got to have good water.
You got to have that New York water,
and
not just say that makes pizza
not just
good.
That,
New York water.
But wow, if that's what makes the pizza good in New York.
I've seen that on the show. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, but we have Deep Eddy vodka. We have distillers popping up all over the place, and their demand. Good God. That led to the first civil war in the United States that people even forget about, which was all about water and all about taxation without representation.
Oh, yeah.
The Whiskey Rebellion.
Throw that tea on the boat, bro.
People forget about the Whiskey Rebellion, that right after the American Revolution, we had to pay off our debt somehow, and we weren't going to tax the public house, because the public house is where the revolution was born. However, we could definitely tax people who made spirits, because their requirement for water is a little bit different. Only difference was those people tended to live out in the foothills. They didn't have so much representation. So once again, we went right up against, right after, in order to pay off our own debt for our
to go back into another debt.
We went straight into a war amongst our own people about, wait a minute, you're taxing me and I don't have a representative. And it was all because of water. It was all because of their access to clean water. And that being a resource, and something that if you have access to that and you're using that for that ends, we need to tax you on it. And it's something that, like you said, going into the water wars, it's led to cattle wars throughout time. It's one of the
that
most... That
almost sounds like modern day corporations today privatizing water in a way, in a sense. I don't know.
To an extent, because like we said before the show, there is the concept of Nestle Corp saying, that they're, or one of the CEOs of Nestle Corp. I shouldn't say Nestle Corp. It was not a policy statement. It did not come out as a message to their stockholders. Hey, everybody, water is not an inalienable human right.
With the chocolate water.
One of their CEOs did definitely say in a public statement,
what did he say?
That water is not a right. Water is not a right.
Wow. Where's old Hickory when you need him, right?
well, and
smack that dude in the head.
Let's get into that a little bit because, of course, Flint, Michigan, things like that have been in the news pervasively over the last 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah.
And something has still not been done.
Right.
What is it about policy that makes it creep like that? What is it that causes that not to be a case of extreme unction for the bigwigs in office, not for people like you that are down on the ground doing things and see the need for stuff?
Well, the given short terms for folks to serve, and as soon as somebody's elected, they've got to run for the next election.
Yeah,
they have very short memories, and so what it boils down to is they're dealing with the disasters of the moment. This next legislative session is, one vote. What do you think that's going to be about?
Yeah.
Harvey. It's going to be about flooding issues.
Yeah.
During the drought, it was about droughts.
Yeah.
And so it's just a very short
short
attention span, especially when stuff costs money. And what we're running into in Texas is that a lot of the easy water's gone. The Highland Lakes that's built. We're not going to build another lake up there. There's just not water running off the land to fill it up.
Yep.
And so the next water we're going to go after is going to cost some money. We're going to have to go, out and do it. Now, we can conserve water, which is actually the least expensive water.
Have there been any plans for like large scale evaporative construction? Anything like that where you're looking at like evaporating water and creating like a constant circulation? Basically,
we kind of do that in the Ogallala Aquifer, where we're pumping all kinds of water up on to irrigate crops up in the Amarillo through Lubbock, and and there seems to be a lot of that's kind of changed the microclimate up there, so we get a lot of clouds, but and then hell, we're warming up the planet, so it's one giant evaporation pond.
Like we were saying earlier in Houston, my dad, for instance, owned a water barrel company, and the city of Houston encourages you to capture water, and if you're building a new house now, will actively tell you how much water you have to collect to offset your concrete foundation. So that may just very well consider whether or not you buy a 2-car or 1-car garage, whenever you're building a house, whenever you're building on property.
Right.
It encourages you to build smaller. It encourages you to think more vertically than expansively.
And people should collect rainwater.
I was just about to say.
Absolutely.
What about people that collect it? You should get some kind of,
their water bill will be lower.
Yeah,
sure.
Something.
Yeah, my wife and I have 5,000-gallon tank.
Nice.
We live up in Allendale, north central Austin.
Wow.
And we use that. Our goal is to not use any city water outside.
It's beautiful.
So it greatly reduces. It's zero escape. So when the neighbor's out, it's 110 degrees, and he's mowing his yard, I'm drinking a hops and grain porter.
Yeah.
So how much do I get every time I mention their name? Is it $10?
You get more hops and grain.
I was trying to get you another porter.
I like the way Robert thinks.
I'm gonna try a Zoe.
Do you want a folder one?
Yeah, I'm gonna Zoe.
Get it.
You get additional hops and grain for mentioning it. That's what you get.
I'm inside watching him.
That's what you get.
Mow that grass and I think everybody. For me personally, as a water geek, I had no idea and how rainwater harvesting would rewire my brain.
It does.
To me, first off, it's like, this water is mine.
That's pretty cool.
I caught it. It's mine.
It's mine.
Yeah.
And then
that's just it, because it is a resource. It is like a calculable resource.
It's yours. You see it, it's there, and then you use it, and you're like, "Holy crap!"
When you
use half of it,
right?
water
And
in the
looks
roses.
like so much, and now it's gone.
Yeah, granted, if you've
nice
got
to have a visual.
if you've got a lot of amenities in life, if you've got a swimming pool, things like that, that takes a certain amount of water to offset. And granted, I helped my dad sell at more than one trade show. Hey, you want us to set you up a collection system that'll feed your swimming pool? Oh, we can do that. Oh, we can make that happen.
It's good stuff. You know,
we can set you up a collection system that will absolutely feed into a reservoir and pump into your swimming pool every day.
And we're near rainwater central for the United States. Dripping Springs in the hill country.
Absolutely.
In part because the aquifer's crappy in that part of the hill country, and so folks have to rely on rainwater for all their supplies.
Yeah.
Austin provides incentives. There's other communities that provide incentives, rebates.
Absolutely.
Austin has awesome rebates for everything, for energy and the chickens. We've had all of them on the show at different times.
There's a chicken rebate?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is there a miniature horse rebate?
No.
No. Okay. No miniature horse rebate.
I feel like it might go the other way because then you got to feed it.
Yeah. And that's really a problem for the neighbors. Like you need much more than 50 feet between a stable and a standing structure.
I don't know, they're pretty
little.
small.
Yeah, all right. You have a very large dog.
I do.
Now imagine the production of your dog times 6 on a daily basis.
I was just in the backyard.
There's your miniature horse in your backyard.
It's compostable. Yeah.
It's compostable. However, much like what so is chicken.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's the impact to your local people and the fact that like 50 feet of fresh air is a whole lot of fresh air. Whenever you're talking about that, like just before literally the day before my baby's first birthday party, I went out and cleaned out the whole chicken coop and repined it. Everything else. Did you smell anything in my backyard that smelled like?
I never do though, and I'm at your house all the time.
Yeah.
His wife and I went to college together.
Yeah.
Do you collect rainwater?
I do not collect rainwater, mainly because I am in a rental house. So there's not a lot I can do about permanent structure. Even what I've done for the chicken coop, I could just get rid of everything and it would be the exact structure that it was. Like just get rid of all the pine, and there's the crappy floor that existed in this murder shack in the backyard.
Yeah, totally.
Before I used it to, like, there was literally this creepy tricycle in this little kid's
it's like broken down.
It's still in my backyard. And my wife's like, "Can we get rid of that?" And I'm like, "No."
Oh, along with those bodies.
I want the murder bike in my backyard.
Murder shack, murder bike.
Still back there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he kept the murder bike.
Someday I'll clean it and sell the murder bike on Craigslist.
Okay, I know the murder shack. What's a murder bike?
It's the bike that was in the murder shack.
Whoever. Oh, okay.
You know that some like haunted little toddler.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've never looked at a bike and said
I've heard music box music in the backyard at night when I see the lightning bugs.
Some scary shit right there.
I've never had the vibe.
That's some scary shit right there.
Ting, 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 ting,
Yeah. The little Freddy,
it's like
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Like Julie was saying
before
we side railed there, Austin is a town of rebates when it comes to this stuff.
Really
it is a town of incentives. What are some of the stuff that they actively do for water collection, that kind of thing? What are some of the incentives that they offer? What are some of the programs that you know about, even though it's not
on rainwater harvesting? If you have a non-pressurized system, in other words, no pump on it, you can get 50 cents per gallon rebate.
Wow!
I think up to $5,000.
And folks,
lifetime attached to the property.
Just so you know, by non-pumped system,
this could benefit me.
Absolutely. As long as you're within Austin city limits, absolutely.
I get that Austin tax.
Here's the trick, folks. What that means is basically having like a nice sized water barrel, 50 gallons to 100 gallons. You can go out and buy you like a food grade.
That doesn't take up a whole lot of space.
250. You're talking about maybe the square footage of this table.
Right.
Total.
And you can get even 500.
Exactly.
That's just tall.
That's what I was going to say. Is a 500.
This table's what, 4 feet across?
Exactly, and that's about a 500 gallon. Food grade. White plastic, green plastic.
$250 a pop.
So how's it go from there? You collect it, and then where does it go from there?
Well, the trick is, you aren't necessarily using that for drinking water.
Okay.
What you're using that for is supplemental water, like he said, a non-pump
Water your
system.
roses,
Right.
or-
So you have drainage hoses coming off of that are soaker hoses.
Oh.
That kind of stuff that go
Okay.
out to feed your pets, go out to feed your livestock. They go out to
Water
water
your
your
lawn.
garden.
I wash my car with rainwater.
Exactly.
I was just trying to think because
Exactly.
I'm
And I can
the
get a
terrible
discount.
person that has sprinklers.
Yeah, you get
Like,
50
what can I
cents a
use this for? I
gallon.
could wash my
50
car.
cents a gallon.
So how do you-
up to $5,000?
Now, how do they?
Oh my God.
They find out like how
Jules,
many
that's
gallons?
huge.
How do you keep track of gallons?
We need to set you up.
You got to go online, and there's some paperwork you got to fill
Sure.
out. You want to fill out the paperwork first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they,
Well, and you
they sign off
also-
on it, and they'll come inspect just to make sure you did what you
Oh,
said you were going to do.
Also, make sure, folks, before you even do that, check with your HOA.
No.
Believe me.
No?
That would
The law
have a problem
changed.
with that.
The
No.
law
yeah?
changed.
They're
Yeah.
not allowed to prevent the installation of rainwater harvesting tanks. What they can do
Wow.
is put aesthetic requirements on it.
Yes.
So
Sometimes you have
Wow.
to.
Harumph.
Yeah. Because that
I give a big
pain in the
applause for
ass.
that.
hey, to the rainwater radicals.
Yeah, ours, you have to put a fence around it.
Yeah,
if
because
it's in the
there were
front
a
yard.
lot of the people that were like, "Oh no, it's our water."
I
It's
can't
like,
have
what
a
the hell are you
chicken,
talking
man.
about?
Like, you know.
How about I catch it before it hits your property and it's mine?
Yeah. It's like you stick your hand over the fence and grab it.
I just put a 1-inch barrier between that water and your property that you legally own.
It's over his, but you're like, no, that's mine.
That's my water.
That's mine too.
It's mine too.
Now, if you have a pressurized system, in other words, you
Yeah.
have a pump on it,
Pump.
you can get $1 per gallon
Pump.
of
Now, granted, pressurized system is not just a pump; it's also an elevated system. So, if you have a water barrel that's, let's say, sitting 30 feet up above the ground, attached to your roof, attached to something like
You
that,
probably don't need a pump then.
you don't need a pump. But that would also
Depends what you're going to do.
That would fall under the regulation of a pressurized system, though, because of the fact of the gravity.
You might want
being
to check
the
on
pump.
that before you demand your
But
refund.
the rainwater I'm
That's a
collecting.
gravity-fed system.
Yeah.
So, now, the bad thing about the pump is that the city, this is what I disagree with
I
the
got to
city
start
with,
doing this.
is that
Yeah.
you have to have something called an RPZ, a reverse pressure zone valve at the street. So if you ever drive down the street and there's like some pipes sticking out that come straight up and then connect, that's a good sign they have a rainwater harvesting system.
Okay.
What?
That sucks because you got to pay to put that in, and then you got to get it inspected every year or two.
So you got
Which
to
is gonna
collect a
cost
lot
you-
to offset it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're gonna, quite honestly, a good storm, you're gonna offset that.
But it
Yeah, I was
still
gonna
has-
say,
it
right?
still has
Straight
that
up.
same $5,000 cap. Though?
Straight up.
What's
Because
that?
Does it still have that same $5,000 cap though?
Yes.
So I mean, it's
It's
gonna
part
barely
of it.
offset it.
But it's a continue like it costs you probably $150.
And
you
it'll
think
offset it
that
on your water bill.
until you start talking about the square inches and square footage collected by water in a good storm. Like you have a good storm, like your rainwater barrels will be completely overflowing.
I mean, we have a 5,000 gallon tank hooked up to a 2-car garage.
Yeah. And you've probably got more than enough water to water your whole lawn,
gets us through the summer.
water your pets. 5,000 gallons get you through the
You know
summer.
what? But you know
use it
what?
to wash the
You
dogs.
can't water. You can't water your lawn with rainwater.
You can't?
just can't. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
You can, but
Yeah.
it goes like
It
that.
go-
yeah.
It goes fast.
I mean,
My
more
yard is
the
very
garden.
small.
I mean, more the
trees, other
that kind of
plants,
stuff. Yeah, the soaker hose system, like I
washing
was
the car.
saying.
Really?
Washing
That's
the
not
dogs.
interesting.
Having a system going out to a dog waterer.
Plants love it because it's it's
It's
rainwater.
actual, yeah, it's what they want.
So all that water that I
not
collect in those barrels,
electrolytes.
I'm using, and I'm still getting a discount
It's got
off
what
my
plants
taxes?
crave.
Is that how that works?
Got what plants
No,
crave.
It's not going back into
You just-
somebody.
you get a rebate
Costco, I
when
love
you
you.
install the system.
Oh, okay. It's a rebate to install the system.
Yes.
Oh, I
Yes.
see. Okay.
Yes.
Because, and quite honestly,
Not
like
bad, though.
you
Shit,
can
yeah.
install a good system, and this is just knowing what my dad did and stuff. You can install a good system for between $3,500 and $5,000 that, would be offset within 1 year here in the city of Austin. And at that point, you are not paying that money in water to water your flower beds, to water your pets.
Yeah, how much
Our water
actual
bill-
city water do you use?
Our water bill, it's about 2,000 gallons a month. Our water bill in Austin
That's
in
beautiful,
August
man.
$18.
Wow.
$18.
Wow. And how do you achieve that?
Yeah,
how do you achieve that?
It's not using city water outside, so xeriscaping and the rainwater harvesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then inside it's just water sense rated fixtures. And then we have dual flush toilets, but it's really just the water sense.
Are you a yellow let it mellow?
No
family?
No.
Okay.
We've got dual flush.
That makes
Although
a big difference.
I do wish we had
Brown let it hang around.
Tri-flush.
Really needs to go down.
No.
We need a
Brown hangs around. No. Oh, never mind.
our toilet. We need a Tex-Mex button on the toilet. Just that extra.
Yeah,
power.
Liam has the dual flush. It's like a
You need the Hilton button,
The Hilton button.
where it's like just slightly below like International Space Station
air
level.
grade.
That's hot.
It's like Southwest Airlines level.
She's like, on her Xanax. That's hot.
Don't get me started on that, dude. I just stopped that like 3 years ago.
Are you serious?
All right, don't get
no
me
way.
started
You
again.
did that?
Oh yeah, forever.
Oh my god, that's how you know when you're getting old. Like,
And speaking of it being hot, that's one of the things that, of course, leads us into water conservation levels
as we get
in
hot.
this state, in any state. And like we were saying before the show, like I think we talked about and touched on just a while ago, there are active states where you cannot collect the water. Like, it belongs to the state.
It's insanity.
That is.
California, Colorado.
Didn't that cloud just
Texas.
piss on me? That's mine.
So like Texas as a whole, of all the rainwater that falls on Texas, 86% of it goes back up into the sky. And that's the same number for England.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's most of it.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's most
That
of
is
it.
most of it,
It's
yeah.
a straight up evaporation or transpiration, plant sweat.
Yeah, I was going to
yeah.
say transpiration also, where plants are outputting the water molecules.
So does
and
that go
stuff
down a
like
lot in
that.
drier climates?
It could. I've seen the number for Texas and I've seen the number for England.
What is the reasoning you think then behind like California not letting people have rain barrels?
I think California lets people have rain barrels. Colorado. is the one that's-
Oh, okay.
It goes back to who owns the water. Colorado is a headwater state, so a lot of rivers start in Colorado. They have all these agreements.
Yeah,
They're
because
just,
of
they're just freaked out.
glacial
Yeah.
melt, things like that.
And
Gotta talk to NORAD and
It's just
Cheyenne
freaked
Mountain.
out.
Downstream water right holders like, what the hell? You're
Because I gotta
reaching
imagine
into
with
my yard
such
and
a
taking my raindrop.
cash crop with all the weed,
That-
like if they could have rain barrels.
But
like, that
see,
could really
that's
save
a
lot of water.
whole other issue that people don't even understand is, the power consumption for industrial marijuana growth, much less the water consumption for industrialized
they should let them have
marijuana
rain
growth.
barrels. That would help a little bit.
I just read an article about hemp, that hemp
Yeah.
is pretty drought tolerant.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Now, I don't
It's-
know about pharmaceutical.
No,
grade.
yeah, no. You gotta,
I don't think it
you
is.
gotta-
I think you have to. keep
you
it
gotta
right.
love it. You gotta love it. All right. There's
With
a
water.
reason.
Love what?
Yeah.
No,
Plants.
you gotta love the plant. You gotta give it love and life and give it good vibrations.
Hey, how you doing today?
I thought that was just a
how'd your
general
day go?
Quite literally, it's gotten to the point in some national forests over in
I
the
do with my
Golden
bird?
Triangle,
Yeah, I do with my
or the Green Triangle in the last like 15 years,
Yeah.
where
Fucking Tesla over
there's
here.
massive erosion going on because of the tiered gardening in the national forest. There's crazy contamination because of people using growth fertilizer, things like that.
The big M word.
And-
Monsanto.
Well, but it's true, and the issue comes in with industrial marijuana growth. Sounds fantastic and awesome. You have to make sure that your power grid can handle that.
Yep.
You heard that at that conference.
Yep.
I heard that at that
Yeah,
conference.
I did. I heard that.
I work a
Talking
lot of these
fluorescent
conferences.
bulbs?
I'm talking about LED bulbs.
Okay,
Doesn't matter
okay.
because even LED, as power efficient as they are, the signal to noise ratio on them is
outside.
insane.
It can grow outside.
Yes, but you aren't growing it outside whenever you're growing it on an industrial scale, and whenever you're growing it for medicinal grade.
And when Popo's in the helicopter going,
you're growing that. You're growing that
looking for
inside
the
a
heat
facility.
signature. Hey, what you got there?
Like a big old.
Yeah.
But then a greenhouse, you don't.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like we can
That's not
do
a
this
cornfield.
without being such an energy suck, guys. We got to do better.
Absolutely. And that's just it. What do we do to make sure that we're looking toward water conservation? What do we do to make sure that...
I think everybody has a role in the part. You know.
Well, of course, one of the best things you can do is shorten your shower to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Jesus, I never take more than like a 2-minute shower. I get so bored.
Give us some of the...
I can't. I get in there and I'm like, oh my god, I can't on my phone. I don't have TV. I'm not talking to anybody. And
Dude,
immediately I'm out of the
awesome.
shower again.
Well, how about if you don't
see, to
shower
me-
but once a week, but you take a long one when
Yeah,
you do?
I only shower every 2 days.
So,
But
what
I have a
are
lawn.
some, not just, because it blew my mind whenever I lived in an apartment.
Yeah, those are crazy.
Dude, no, the water bill
Shit that goes
that
wrong.
would land in my lap every month.
Oh, because it's communal.
Were
Yeah,
you
that's
like, are you
bullshit.
shitting me right now?
Yeah.
Dude,
$85?
Like, I was home for
And my
12
dad would be like, I've
minutes.
got a fucking swimming pool. My shit's 62.
Yeah. $85 water.
Like, I got a swimming pool that's as big as your apartment. And I don't pay $82 a month for a water bill.
And that is one of the discussions. Is like you got to have unit metering, so you get credit for saving water.
Yeah, because it was one of those like, hey, yo, I'm gone for a good bit of the month. Like, you can't, like,
This is
there
on the
was
water.
one month where we had an $86 water bill, and it was like,
That's insane.
me and my wife were gone.
no, dude. Yeah.
We were gone for a week and a half.
No,
How
dude.
can we have the same usage?
Yeah, no.
Possibly. Did we
Yeah.
just shower a shit ton?
There was a
8
few years
months
ago.
before?
Everybody's
There was a few years ago. Robert probably knows that Austin went to that thing where, like, you know, like everybody, it's like, you know, that complex is like divided
Tiered,
up. Yeah, whatever.
Tiered,
Yeah.
tiered rate structure.
Yeah, and oh my God, I called them out on it so many times. I was like, I swear to God, this is usury.
When it first came
This is
about,
because I would get the same $86 water bill,
Right.
and it would be one of those like, wait a minute, I had a bathroom with like gray water backed up into the shower,
Oh, damn,
For
you
2
went all out,
days.
dude, in an apartment, dude.
and you're telling me that I had like the same like.
Yeah.
No, I can tell you why the water usage is double. It's because it's going one way and then it's coming back and then it's going through there again and being registered twice by the same damn pump.
Taxation
Everybody
It's
has
not
their own
rocket
level.
math. Shit. Like, it's not rocket math.
think
That's
about
gray
it.
water reuse, though. So
when
that's
my-
awesome.
You were saying there's like
Not
a
when
beer
it's just
thing
chilling. Not when it's just chilling out in your spare bathroom, man.
Chilling out just for
there.
about
So gross.
It was wrong. Like, I had a really good friend, Wes
When I
Goins.
first heard
know you
about
don't
that, the
listen
way they
often,
were
but if
doing
you're
that, I
listening,
wanted to
love
go
you.
knock on my neighbor's doors and just go up.
I
and be
remember-
like, hey, how about we just shower, like, you know, like 5 minutes, everybody? You know?
I remember my
Yeah, you know what I
bandmate
mean?
from
Like,
Shakuhachi Jones
You're gonna
calling me up
It's all about
on,
the whole now.
on my friggin' honeymoon and being like, hey, dude, like, I don't want to bother you. I was like, okay, way too late. You're only calling me because something is fucking horrifying. What's wrong, Wes? He was like, there's about an 1/8 inch of poop water in your apartment right now. Oh, son of a bitch! Like, oh my God, dude!
That's those apartments in East Austin.
I just raged. It was like the Hulk came alive from inside of me on that patio.
There's no way.
I was like, you have
I'm
no
out of this
idea right now.
place.
He's like, I love you so much, man. I'm going to do what I can, but I got to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm going,
there's
dude.
also
I
a
was
nice
like,
layer of
I was
vomit.
like, here's what you do. You go in the back room. You know where the camera lives. You start taking pictures, and you take that
get the
bastard home
cats.
and get my cats and get them somewhere safe.
Oh, no.
But good God. Oh, man. It was
PCs,
horrifying.
no.
Some of the things
Fuck
that we
that.
dealt
I'm
with
done.
as apartment dwellers, as people who, and as someone whose father owned rental property, was a landlord. It was one of those things of like, that's one of the things that you are guaranteed, that like you have to be guaranteed as a landlord. Like you don't have to give somebody a fridge. It's not my job to give you a friggin' refrigerator in life.
But
I gotta give you water.
Yeah.
And
I gotta give you a means by which to get rid of your
poop. There's no incentive for an apartment owner, or even someone who rents a house to have water efficient fixtures because you're paying the bill.
Or to do the actual repair, which was like, quite obviously this place is settling and lines are crushed. That's the only reason why gray water would be working its way back up.
That's disgusting.
Is because of crushed pipes.
That sounds like black water, what you're just Poop water is black water.
Not great.
It was a mixture of
what is it that you can make beer out of? The gray stuff or straight up water?
You cannot use gray water whatsoever for beer.
What do you use?
So there's a whole subculture of using. So one of the new cool things in the water world is something called direct potable reuse. So you take sewage water, and it goes through conventional wastewater treatment before it gets generally put back in the river.
It gets a little bleach in it.
It strains 1 to 10. Number 2 strainer. 1
to 10. And some fine mesh.
And then it goes through, real cleaning. Gets through reverse osmosis generally. Really strains it out. And then it goes back into the drinking water supply. So Big Spring, Texas has a plant that takes sewage water, wastewater from Big Spring, totally cleans it up. I've drunk it. Slight hint of beef enchiladas, but other than that, it was fun. No, I'm joking.
Nice.
I
was down.
Water's clean,
This started us at Texas Diet Craze.
Dude's like, comes in there and comes out here, and I'm like, I'll take some. And
can't go wrong.
Could have used
beef enchilada water. I could see Topo making a business out of it.
But people are a little creeped out by that.
Yeah.
Make me some supernatural water.
And they could be. I could utterly see how, because that mental block
Toilet
is there.
The tap, the press will call it.
But here's the thing. Julie, how many islands have you been on?
I don't know a lot.
All right.
I don't ever drink the water on that.
How many?
He's going to get you now. He's going to get you. Here it comes.
How many ships have you been on?
A lot, but I have done the tours. There's whole tanks of water that has nothing to do with showers or anything that you use.
Oh, I'm with you.
That was a visual effect.
I'm not talking about what comes out of your tap for you to drink. However,
I'm sure I'm bathing in pee water. I'm fine with that. I'm not putting it inside my body. And I rarely shower anyway. I have a very low I don't even wear deodorant. I'm disgusting.
2-minute showers and no shower.
You're natural, Julie.
When I bother to shower, they are quick. But I have all kinds of allergies. It's easier just not to. Plus, I get really bored. Really bored. Really.
Hanging
there's
out in the shower.
There's nothing to look at in a shower.
Yeah. Play me a movie or something,
Right?
Well, and I think,
But so the beer, though. We're talking about the beer.
Yeah, so folks are taking this water, this treated wastewater, totally cleaned up, and making beer out of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Which brewery is this?
So it's like a major... It's like a major subculture. Circle Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've had a lot of their beer.
Reuse beer.
All right.
Wow.
Damn it, I have drank it.
Let's see.
You
Is it good, Julie?
Stone.
I love Circle beer.
Stone.
IPA.
Circle.
Good stuff, yeah.
All right.
And there's lots of...
wow, so these
Lost
are like...
Highway Brewing. I think that's
Okay.
I've heard of that.
It's called Double Take.
Yeah.
Double take. When you sip it, you might do a double take.
So, I mean, nobody's made a brown ale, probably for obvious reasons.
I like that. Let's stray away from that one.
But you could, there's Stinky Twinkie Stout. You could, I'm thinking of names. What could we
Right?
That's a good
I
one
like
to
a brown ale. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Mr. Hankey's Lager.
Mr. Hankey's Christmas Brew.
Yeah.
Seasonal, I like
Hankey the Christmas Brew. Yeah.
But for more and more communities in Texas, that's going to be the future. Is not.
Well, and it's interesting because even right up north, It's not Round Rock. Which town is it?
Pflugerville. Dallas?
Yeah, Pflugerville.
Yeah.
No, Pflugerville is totally
on the first try.
is totally solar.
Hold on.
All their power
Natural Tiger Woods
is coming out of solar right now.
Oh, yeah, that guy that came on.
And even
the
just to
energy
think about
stuff.
water recycling in the terms of solar energy, whenever you're talking about water tank gathered, water heating solar energy, pumping it straight out of a reservoir, putting it through a heater with the solar plant on one end,
all
and
water's
then
recycled.
condensing it back and
totally.
turning it back into drinkable water on the back end.
It's like you've probably seen the meme. It's like every glass of water you have, at least one molecule pass through.
Well,
a
and
dinosaur.
That's pretty neat.
There is a huge campaign going
Wow, I
on
feel
right
ancient
now
now,
amongst
sure.
social media, amongst a lot of stuff.
That's so cool.
As far as getting
I like
drinkable
that.
water to people,
Puts it
and
into
a lot of people
perspective.
don't realize that. Yes, this issue exists overseas, absolutely.
Oh man,
Right.
Africa.
Yeah.
But it is rampant
definitely.
here in the United States as
true.
well.
Appalachia.
Meghan
When you
Markle's
get into,
big on
even
Africa
right
and
now, they're
the
talking
water
about
over there.
the
Colombia.
Boy
So
Scout
cool.
Jamboree going on in West Virginia.
I'm up on one.
And
No.
it's like, hey,
You're from Houston, right?
Yeah.
So where do you think most of your water comes from?
Dasani. Dasani.
I like the way this guy does
You drink bottled water.
It comes from the Dasani bottling plant.
Here it comes, brother.
So 50%
Go ahead.
of it is treated wastewater.
I know.
Dallas Fort Worth.
Now go buy.
Every glass of water a Houstonian drinks
It's,
has at least one molecule that passed through Jerry Jones.
That's right.
I gotcha!
Don't make me Dallas piss water.
So in a way you can
In
say
drought,
you're part of Jerry Jones.
in drought, it's 80%.
I'll take those wins.
Yeah, I know, right?
A W is a W, no matter how you get it.
W.
Point is water's recycled.
clean it.
There's technology
It is
to clean
the
it up.
Biggest and that was, I remember I was talking with Steve-O before anybody got here about my experience with Mr. Wizard and the wild things that I learned on Mr. Wizard. Some of the things that, like, if
we
you
were talking
learn them
about
now, it would
We
like
were talking about
it would really kind of make a kid dangerous. It was one of those things that, like, wow,
Yeah,
that is
today-
some explosive power for some for some, like,
You're on the watch list now, brother.
like pharmacy chemicals off the shelf. Holy jeez, Mr. Wizard. Thanks.
man.
You know what
One
you
of
can
the
do with vitamin
coolest
K?
ones-
Yeah.
One of the coolest ones was him literally just creating a microenvironment. And it was a lamp and a little bit of soil and some water. And like by heating one part of it, it literally just created this entire draft. And it was like it would come over onto the side and condense over and like condense onto the top and then fall back down into the
neat.
water. And
Now
it was
that's
like,
cool.
Yeah,
This,
I remember doing
this
that
is
when I
the
was
Earth,
little in
yo.
science.
Like right here.
Yeah, that's Earth,
you know,
right?
and it's
You know.
nothing but a 10-gallon aquarium and a lamp and
Yeah.
some soil and some water. But you can see that entire process. And like I would, just to bring it back full circle, going back to that class in chemistry, in chemistry in the community, where it was like hands-on
That's sick.
science, where it was like it made you care about the chemistry of your
Right.
community.
So let me tell you about something. I'm from Texas State. I work at the Meadow Center for Water and the Environment.
Okay.
And we coordinate the Texas Stream Team, which is a volunteer way for citizen scientists to do just that.
Nice.
Participate in observing streams and rivers, taking samples, and sharing that into a big bad database that helps scientists and others see what's
Neat.
happening in the natural world. So
That's
Well,
really cool.
because the data, that's what people don't get, is especially when it comes to water, when it comes to water table, when it comes to that kind of stuff, even waterfall within an area, so much depends on the public. Mm-hmm. So much data depends on local farmers, local agriculture clubs, people like that, backyard gardeners like my grandfather. I remember he kept a log of rainfall.
Yeah, Tiffany Thornton. I don't know if she still does now that she lives out in the country, but when she lived in Circle C, she did. She always knew what the rain gauge was all the time.
Yeah, and it's people like that who report it regularly to user groups, who report it regularly to Texas Parks and Wildlife. Those kind of people who let us know
like their own barometers.
What the approximate oxygenation of the water in Lake Travis is right now because of the water level. Mm-hmm. And that tells you whether or not fishing conditions are safe for catch and keep. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I would not, in the last 5 years, responsibly gone out and caught and kept. And I don't mind catch and release, but it's one of those, if I'm going to catch, I'm going to have some fish for dinner. It's just the Cajun part of me. If I shoot a deer, I'm probably going to eat some venison at some point. That's probably just happening.
Point of the cause of the cause of the point.
So I'm all about catch and release. It's great. It's a fantastic concept. But as far as catch and keep, I couldn't go out and buy a license, even though that goes to restocking. It was one of those we shouldn't even be depleting anything right now, much less restocking. Mm-hmm. If we're restocking, we're just deoxygenating more for those fry and jacking things up for the babies. Like, oh my God.
Think of the babies.
Well, somebody please think of the children.
I couldn't find another purple.
A lot of beer in that fridge.
Yeah, there is. It's an obscene amount of beer.
We could go on for 8 more hours.
Oh. Don't tempt me, man. I've thought about the marathon, let's go for 18 hours and see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Julie's been there for 3 and sexually harassed for 15 minutes of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a true story.
What time are you off tonight?
When's our camp?
She hasn't showered, by the way.
Yeah.
I was clean that day.
Live on air. Even. I'm like,
that's awkward.
You realize, dude told the most racist joke in the world.
Oh, I remember that one. That's the Meekum. That's the Meekum. I remember that. Oh, God,
yeah. Do you get off? I'm like, oh, my God, never. Gross. And he's, still talking. I'm like, we're live on the radio. Walk away.
You told him. It was like it did not faze that dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, get up. He told him to move so he could sit there. And Chris is like, you can't sit down.
He told Chris, he goes, did you just pick your nose? Yeah, seriously. He goes, did you just pick your nose?
It was so gross.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Are you just so fucking
intoxicated? Done yet? I'm
moment.
Are you
never
so
done
intoxicated,
for you, dude?
And since then, we talk about much more important issues like water conservation, things like that.
Sometimes you got to talk about cars.
You do. You do.
How many cats do you have?
2.
Yeah,
I have 2.
4.
We thought about 3.
I've got 2 dogs and a bird. And the way the bird came about was about
Black
3 weeks ago.
No.
This little thing ended up
fluffy.
my pavement outside, and I own a house, and he's there. And he had no feathers. He was like right out of
my house.
I don't even see his.
My house is like Highlander when it comes to cats.
Took him in. I soaked dog food because the internet said that.
A third one comes in, one's got to go.
I feed the little guy this, Now he's got feathers,
we'd have just brought Brandy with us from
I
the
got one
apartments.
room that he's in now, and he flies around. It's kind of like my office room, and he flies around. And I think it's just a sparrow. I think
okay.
He chirps all the time until I walk in.
Your baby bird made it?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet!
I walk in the room, he lands on my shoulder. I'll take him outside. I try to let him go.
Sweet.
And I put him in the tree outside, and he just jumps back in my hand and jumps on my shoulder.
He's impressed on you, bro. He's impressed on you. That's dope.
It. It's like, oh
that's dope. That's like my chickens.
Yeah, he's like that.
That's like my chickens, man.
How do you know it's a he?
Oh, that's a good question. And that's
what's the coloration?
Well, he's grayish, maybe some black dots on him or something, or not dots, but
Are the wings? Is the coloration on the wings?
He's a bird expert too, Steven.
Is the coloration on the wings vibrant or dull?
Well, I'd have to say dull because they're not very vibrant.
Probably a
more than likely a female.
Oh, okay.
Meant to blend in with the nest.
Very dark eyes, just real tiny.
Probably a girl, because boys are usually
it's
a little
like a sparrow.
flashier.
Yeah, exactly.
Like one of those little, so it's not like one of those real, that's a pretty color bird, It's,
But she's just your baby.
That's dope. I remember when I was a kid, I actually saved a mockingbird near my dad's lake house, and it was one of those like he just hung around the lake house for years, for years and years. Yeah,
I like
it was
that.
great.
That's it. Baby made it. 2 weeks ago he came in and he's like, I found this bird. He has like no feathers.
I didn't think it was going to make it. You know,
like,
I had no experience. I just looked on the internet, like, what do I feed this thing? And some dog food in it. So I did that.
Dog food or cat food. That's good stuff.
And it fucking
either that or just go to Walmart.
I didn't give it no water because it was soaked in dog food. But now it's old enough. It chirps and I have a dropper and I didn't.
Pretty soon he'll be ready for other things, probably.
Go to Walmart and you can buy a thing of night crawlers and literally just pinch a little piece off a night crawler
and it
will stay alive. It doesn't hurt the night crawler.
I'm trying to get it to eat on its own now.
Like
that's what I can't do. It just wants me to feed it. So I'm trying to hey, and I got bird seed, and I'm like, hey.
No, that's why I'm saying you got to go out and get you like a little
buggies.
Go out and get you a little jar of red worms
because it don't know nothing.
Okay, you can don't know nothing. What you want is red worms.
Red worm.
Okay, they're like the small little red worms that you find in the ground. They aren't like big night crawlers.
See, you can put a beautiful cake on the table, but how do you get the damn thing to peck that damn thing? You know what I mean?
You literally set it on the ground in front of
peck it first.
Yeah, like
you set it on the ground.
Here we go.
Eat a little worm and
same thing.
I think Robert's right.
Here's the thing.
Jesus, I'm the mother.
And then spit it in his
It blew Amy's mind today.
You're the mom.
Blew Amy's mind because she's been trying forever to teach Dalbus about the bottle. And I'm like, he grabs it, but he don't pull it back. He grabs it, and he got it today. He got it to where it was like right here, and then he'd put it down, and I was like, you're
just
right there, bro. You're right there. You're right there. But it was one of those like I would teach him
like that.
and then put it down and let him go.
Yeah.
And he'd cry and I'd be like, grab your bottle.
Yeah, you're old enough. You're not going to die. He's one.
Grab your bottle. It's a 1-year-old child. So I was like, you know how to grab your bottle. Like, you know the mechanics. Don't cry at me like you don't know. Like,
right.
When I put it in your mouth, you know to kick your head back and suck on it.
It's like those
and
neurons.
You know how to grab your bottle. You just need to learn to marry these two together.
It's those neurons in the brain. It's neurons in the brain trying to fire, right, and connect,
but
right?
Yeah, by the end of the day, it was one of those, like, I'd be like, grab your bottle, and he'd be like,
and
he'd at least have it and have it in his mouth and, like, almost have it there, and it'd be like, all right. We're almost there. We're almost there. Like, baby steps.
That's
baby
exactly
steps.
then what it is.
It's so exciting
but it's
when they're no
steps.
longer dependent on you for life.
Oh, yeah.
God,
I did have him in my hand and he was pecking shit, so
well,
that's cool.
Liam, it was, he also has weird allergies, so he was like 11 months old, and he could have like cow milk and he was fine, but
peanut
until
butter.
then he couldn't, but at 6 months or like 5.5 months, he realized that I was kind of over the whole thing, and so like I would pump and put it in a bottle, and the fucker would just take it. I'm like, oh, thank God. If I die right now, besides like needing this shit, at least you can figure out how to feed yourself, you know? Like,
yeah. Dalbus, geez, man.
He drank cow milk and didn't like projectile vomit or get rash or hives.
You give that boy a sausage. You give Dalbus a sausage, he's in heaven for like the next hour. He's just sad.
Because he got Cajun in him, dog.
Oh, hell yeah. Quite honestly, it's true. He's named after my Cajun grandfather. Yeah. But not only that, his first actual solid food, rabbit gumbo.
That is sick.
That is sick.
No, I had that rabbit gumbo.
No.
That was good shit, dude. That was good shit.
It was rabbit gumbo with venison sausage.
I actually want the recipe. Yeah.
It was,
what questions did we ask?
The trick is rabbit and venison. But
who is awesome about water in Texas?
Yeah.
What
are we looking at so far as water? Because, of course, as far as gumbo goes, one of the key ingredients is water.
The best water?
What are we looking at as far as the future for water conservation in Texas, water regulation, especially people who not just are apartment dwellers, but are HOA dwellers as opposed to people like my brother who are well dwellers? You know, that's like awesome. They got their own water. They can do whatever they want. They got their own land. They can pump it out the ground. They can harvest it from the sky. What's the difference between them, Julie, myself as a renter, and people like much of Austin who are apartment dwellers?
I'm HOA.
What can they do even to help conserve water and to take part in this process?
Well, You could. I mean, there's lots of things you can do as individuals. So stop taking showers like Julie, or shorter showers.
Right, just be super bored by showering.
Non-self-indulgent showers.
You'll be fine, like
here's
Brad
the thing:
said.
business showers, man.
Yeah, just
Business
get out.
showers.
Yeah, like your.
There's no need
30
for an
minutes
extended.
late.
There's no need for an extended 20-minute shower.
I need you to talk to my wife. Would you?
So quick shower.
I try to talk to my
shower.
wife, but she's in the shower.
There you go. There you go.
I'm just
right in
playing.
the kiss it. Ooh,
You're
that's
just
it.
I would imagine.
It's harder when you're renting someplace, but you,
Yeah.
you can get little adapters to stick
You can,
on the end
right.
of your faucets.
You can get low
Yeah.
flows.
You can drop a brick into your toilet.
I've seen that a long time ago.
Less
I
A little
offset-
less water there.
to offset.
Yeah, in the
You know,
back of the
just-
deal.
Yep.
Yeah, the offset.
10% of a household's use tends to be leaks. So
Yep.
leaking faucets, a
Old
toilet that
fixtures.
leaks. Like if you look in your toilet,
Yeah.
it's dribbling down the sides.
Yeah, that's not good.
No,
Yeah, you need
we
to-
have
Constantly,
You
why
need to
nobody,
flap up.
prime example is we need new cock and balls in all of our toilets.
Hey, this is a PG-13.
That's a pretty cheap thing to just get at Home Depot.
Number one, glad to know that you're home savvy enough to know what I'm talking about,
Dude, you saw
Julie. With
my
the recent
remodel.
improvements.
I am.
But just so you
remodeling
know,
my
folks, it
upstairs
is
alone.
actively, and not only is it
Cock
called
and
the,
balls.
not only is it called the John, all right, and there is a reason why it's called the John, the man who invented the toilet. But
Mr. John.
the cock and balls,
John.
the cock and balls
Oh, it's
is the
Crapper.
float and flapper.
Everybody was called John back
Crapper, I
then.
thought.
John
It is.
Crapper.
Oh,
Yeah.
John Crapper.
John
Yeah.
Crapper.
Okay, there we go.
And it
schmitting me
is
right
the
now.
literally
Oh, there's a
literal
fucking
float. It's the float and flapper. But the thing is, it leads to a lot of slow leaks. It's what you hear running in the middle of the night, where you hear like the soft.
And that's bad. Yeah,
You know,
you're
yeah.
you're
That's
wasting
so
a lot of
easy
water.
to fix. Like
Yeah.
as soon as you hear it, fix it.
If you have a house, you do rainwater harvesting. You can get the latest fixtures. Get a
wanna do
shower
that
head that
rainwater
doesn't do
harvesting.
more than 2 gallons a minute.
Mine is really
You can
bad.
collect air conditioning condensate. A little drip.
Wow.
that comes out.
Yeah.
The Estonian, the big, tall.
Yeah.
Used to be the tallest skyscraper
I
in
was
town.
gonna
Now it's
say.
the second.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
the Jenga Tower. But
That's kinda neat
it
looking.
meets all of its outdoor water needs through air conditioning condensate.
Wow, that's so cool.
Which is pretty cool.
Say what?
I
That's
never
pretty
would've
sick.
considered
That is
that.
sick.
Yeah.
That is sick to know that.
No, the engineer that worked on it, and he was originally hired to collect rainwater, but a skyscraper doesn't have a big footprint.
Right.
No.
And he's just like, what about air conditioning condensate? And it's perfect because when do you need the water? Summer months.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're running the air conditioning?
Summer
Yeah,
months.
that's genius.
So-
It's already
Wow.
there.
I'm
It's
glad that
already
there are smart people in
existing.
the world.
It's either going to go into a tank and evaporate, or it
That
can go
is
into a
really
tank and be
fucking cool.
harvested.
Yeah.
That's some
One of
fucking
the
shit
two.
right there. I like that.
And if you don't water outdoors and you have water sense fixtures, you'll use easily 35 gallons
Yeah.
per person per day in your house.
Absolutely.
A normal Texan uses 100 gallons per person per day.
Wow.
In their house.
Wow.
I'm not surprised.
Wow. And when you think about that,
Like,
when
what
you think about
dishes?
If you have the first off, use your dishwasher.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, that's
Like
what
a
I was
di- a
wondering. Is
dish-
a
Thank
dishwasher
you.
better?
A dishwasher.
Thank you.
Wait.
I want you to do me a favor
Did you
real
say
quick.
use the dishwasher?
Use the
Do me a
dishwasher.
favor. Do me a favor.
Okay. Tell my mom
Repeat
that.
that for me slowly.
Yeah.
Use your dishwasher.
Thank you. That was even creepily close to the microphone, so my wife will be all about it.
That's like
Modern
Michael Myers
dishwashers
style.
Yeah.
use 1.5 gallons per load.
Oh wow! I feel so much better because I just
So-
bought a new dishwasher and I always
so
feel kind of
the-
guilty.
the-
No,
because I have
man.
water.
Everybody has the
Use it.
misconception
Your
of
average
that,
flow,
right?
your average flow rate is half a gallon a minute
Right.
on a regular faucet.
So many people have the misconception of this.
So when you're using a half a gallon a minute, and you're spending 5
Yeah.
minutes filling up your basin,
Right.
If you
you'd
use
be
more
using
water-
half the time,
see?
half the water, half the
But if
power.
you don't have a
And-
dishwasher, you can
Wow.
save that and just use
Dishwashers-
the water to water your
This is
plants.
new to me.
Skin scalding temperatures.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like
ours
getting-
has Sahara as
getting
one
all
of the things.
the yucky stuff off, the bacteria.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus if you've had 3 bottles of wine
So
at
from
dinner,
water
washing
expert,
dishes.
use
Yeah.
use your dishwasher.
Use your
Thank
dishwasher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, love that.
You can
too,
still
but I'm
you can
glad
still
to know.
rinse some stuff before you put it in because, like my mom always said, it doesn't have hands, son.
Yeah, our dishwasher's
So
not
you
Get the
great.
chunks off.
So have you been following Cape Town?
South
Issue with
Africa?
Cape Town? Yeah,
Yes.
South Africa. They're in a
Yes.
terrible water
Oh,
situation.
and they
Oh,
are
shit.
not just in a terrible water situation. It's become a situation that is like almost untenable because, of course, a lot of the water reserves that are there, things like that, go back to pre-apartheid farms, that kind of stuff. So there are like rebel groups taking, like we said, water wars going on.
Say it must be wars.
People in Cape Town now are not allowed to use more than 13.2 gallons per person per day in their homes.
Imagine that,
Wow.
folks. Imagine what he just said your average gallon usage in Austin is. You would have to use 1/10 of the water per day.
Which is unbelievable. I mean, if you
1/10 of the water per day.
if you have an efficient
If it's
shower
yellow,
head,
let it mellow.
Yeah.
if you have an efficient shower head, you take a 5-minute shower, you've used 10 gallons of your 13.
And they're using
Wow.
13 something.
13.2 gallons per
I
person.
don't have
per
an
day.
efficient. I have a rainwater one
And they-
that's like my whole top
And
of
they
my
have
shower.
maps. They have maps that show people's water use on a household by household basis.
Well,
So you can see how your neighbor's doing.
my whole Cape Town.
See, that's what I thought about when I was in an apartment. Like, hey,
Wow.
dude, 2-minute shower,
Wow.
motherfucker.
But that's what we're trying to avoid. You know, I just want to make sure that there's enough water for everybody.
Well, and that's just it. Is that, like I said, people don't realize it is a finite resource. Yes, people. By all scientific means, we get it back.
But 80%.
Evaporative process, all that kind of stuff. It is a recirculative system.
Were you in a play in kindergarten?
That shit takes time.
Cycle I was.
With
That
the
shit-
little
The guy was
flower.
evaporation.
Oh, nice.
Do you like my hand?
I think it was the flower. Or actually, I feel like it was
The
a frog.
fact
I don't know how that played in.
that shit takes time. That is not like a now process. That is not even a process of water goes up in Texas, it falls down in Florida.
Right.
That's not even how that works. All right? Like the water that would fall down from water evaporated in Texas would fall down before it
Yeah.
hit friggin' Africa.
And it's a basic element of life that, if not the element
so by the
of life.
time that
Yeah.
fresh water that may fall down, it's salt water now. It's no
Yeah.
longer
It-
usable
mostly-
water
mostly
by
rains
all
on the ocean.
standards. It is not usable for irrigation. It's barely usable for plumbing.
That's rainwater, right?
No, that's
saltwater.
ocean water.
Ocean.
That's ocean
sure
water.
that-
That's-
Rainwater I can drink,
and
though,
that's
right?
85. That's 85.
But I'm sure that
properly
mass, yeah,
properly done
contamination.
rainwater.
You need the filter. and
Properly
deal with
done.
UV.
Yeah, like you
But it's not
got to
horrible.
remember
Might be
that-
some bird crap.
Yeah.
Well, not just that, but there's a lot of
Goddamn
sand.
bird.
There's a lot of sand. There's a lot of silt that's going to come off of your off your shingles, things like that.
Pour me a little Powerade in there.
There's a
something,
lot of
mix it
stuff
up.
in there that you really do need a filter if you want to make it
Rainwater
drinkable.
makes
Put me a little
perfectly
something.
clear ice cubes.
Yes, it does.
Perfectly clear
Yes, it
ice
does.
Which ones do you?
Rainwater.
Rainwater.
Oh, I thought I've seen something recently on that. Yes, I have seen
But-
a meme on that.
You know, who is awesome about water conservation in Texas, about water rights in Texas, about water information in Texas? Where can
So-
people go
so
to
San-
find this information?
So San Antonio is really good about water conservation.
Hell yeah, they are.
El Paso
Yeah.
is really good about water conservation for obvious reasons. Is they're 8 inches of
They
rain a
need
year.
it, sure.
Yeah.
They're really struggling with their water resources, and then Austin also is pretty good. In terms of where to go for information, can I say EPA on this show?
You can say anything you want. Anything you want.
The Water Sense program, Google that. That's an
Okay.
EPA program. You can find out about water fixtures. There's the Alliance for Water Efficiency that has a lot of good information on water conservation. My former employer, Texas Water Development Board, also has a lot of good information. And then check with your local community.
Exactly.
And that's the other thing is that you can do as an individual is look at what your water provider is doing. And if you don't think they're doing enough, let them know. Let them know that they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they should have a rebate program.
Well, and how and that's what I was going to say. How do you know that they're not doing enough? Like you said, rebate programs, things like that, water, rainwater collection programs, that kind of thing. Where, hey, if they're coming by and reading your water meter anyway, how about taking a quick read on the gallonage in my rainwater collection and offset that?
Yeah, good luck with that.
I my sprinklers today.
I know.
One of my neighbors ratted me out.
Welcome to the visionary world that is visionary world that is Dudes and Beer. This world of common sense that exists, where it's like, my God, yeah, why wouldn't we have that?
We wish it could have been. That's the perfect world.
Wouldn't that be great if they actually just came out with a little plumb bob and went, yep, that many gallons.
Yep.
All right.
And
So I did a little research on hops and grain.
Yeah.
And they do stuff on water.
They do
conservation
a great job. They're doing a great job right now trying to save the Texas turtles, things like that.
They,
all kinds of
have
stuff.
their own
Reusing
bees.
water.
we like doing stuff like that. They love doing stuff
They
like
are.
that.
I can't remember. They're the number one. Something recycling. There's something that they're like the best in all of the craft.
Oh no!
burgers.
As far as reduce, reuse, recycle, they take all of their used barley, everything else, compress it into dog treats, that kind of stuff.
They do a good job.
I mean,
they do. As far as sustainable brewing goes, they are top dog in town.
You know, and making beers water intensive, it takes 5 cans of water, equivalent of 5 cans of water to make 1 can of beer.
Holy
Wow.
So always
I drink
make
a
sure
lot of
you
water.
drink it all.
shit. Make sure you drink it all.
No alcohol abuse.
That's a
folks.
good way
You
of
know,
putting it.
if you're not wasting beer, you're not wasting water.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right.
Should be a nice tag.
Do your part to conserve.
I like the way Robert thinks.
That's the Dudes and Beer way of conserving water, everybody. It's making sure that you finish your beer. Because every 20th of a beer that's left is 1 12-ounce can of water. You monster. What kind of monster would do that to their children and their
Wasting
children's
water.
children?
It takes quality to make
Because
it right.
you know what's going to happen to your children's children is at that point that 12-ounce can of water cannot become a 20th of a can of beer.
Exactly.
And you have now
Live
deprived
that
your
world.
children's children of beer, and it's become a friggin' water world situation. Oh, well, I guess not actually, because that's a shit ton of water.
Where's
and nothing
Terminator
to do
fit
with
when
it.
it's a water world, huh?
But you know what I'm saying? That's dystopian. We don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Terminators, he's under the water now.
Dune was about water.
Dune was totally about water and spice.
That David Lynch version. I mean,
the sweet
somebody
spice.
died. They harvested the water out of the bodies.
Lost Highway was
That's
crazy.
water conservation.
Yeah. Mad Max. Mad Max ended up being about water.
Civilization movie.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't Mad Max more about like oil or gasoline?
Well,
Which was
it was
crazy because it should have been more about water.
It was in the originals,
Yeah.
but the recent one was about
that was
water.
Water. Oh, yeah.
It
I was
twisted
going to
into
say,
water.
in that situation, wouldn't it be more about water?
Well, and
Like,
that's
fuck the
the
gasoline,
thing.
you know?
Yeah.
Number one, let's dispel some panic for people because I'm not going to lie. I used to work for some panic-ridden folk.
Yeah, we won't go there, but we know what you mean.
What are the actual facts about fresh water? What are the actual facts about water availability in the state of Texas and the city of Austin for the average person, things like that?
So like statewide, we're not ready for a repeat of the Drought of Record. So the state plans for water. It plans for a repeat of the Drought of Record. We're not ready.
Is there any new legislation coming up?
There's
water.
Well, no,
there probably will be on flood in this next
I
session.
can't really see legislation changing that preparedness.
That's
stuff.
local stuff. That's cities
something maybe
getting
Robert
money.
might know.
Because even
So we're not ready, so that means if it happens, like...
because I
You're
mean,
gonna have communities running out of water.
even what
Cape
happened,
Town.
even what happened in Houston, where it was the opposite, of course, with the recent hurricane.
Too much water.
Too much water.
But then terrible water quality and how to process it so much.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah,
they
that's
did
like-
as far as remediation goes,
That
response. Like I just did a utilities commissioner conference, and their response time was 90 seconds.
Wow, that seems good.
When you called about a power or water outage during that hurricane, you had a 90-second response time before you were on the phone with a human being.
Impressive.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yesterday,
They
I know
broke
you guys
like
were doing
national
construction.
records.
Did it take more than 90 seconds yesterday to figure out what construction had knocked out your water?
No.
No, it's less than 90 seconds? That's good.
That is so phenomenal.
I had a pretty quick grasp on it.
That is so phenomenal. I would like to ask if it was an unassociated, group that had those numbers. You know what I mean?
Well, and it was just one of those like, wow, to think about
This
that.
guy's
think
not in
about,
my group.
To
That's
think
giving you
about
the
the
number, you know what I mean?
infrastructure that it takes to put into place to make it to where when somebody calls and says, I have a power outage, to where when that situation happens,
Right.
I have a fresh water outage.
Mm-hmm.
I have a potable water outage.
Right.
Number one, how many people are actually prepared to make potable water in their home
No, definitely
out of
not.
what exists? Just a general figure off the top of your head. I'd say probably close to 22, 23%. Maybe.
That's
Maybe.
like-
And that's because we got some old school
With
Texans.
that beer fridge over there, we're set.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, that's plenty of like antibacterial.
water, brother.
That's
The
plenty
river
of
beer especially.
antibacterial water right there.
Scoop out
That
those
is-
big parts and
that
you'll be
is as
fine.
clean as you
Like-
can get. There is
River
no
beer.
bacteria in that whatsoever.
Yeah,
Boil
wash
about
your
30.
hair with that.
3 minutes boiling and scoop out the big parts. You're good.
But as far as people like the old school preparations of, hey, the hurricane's happening,
Worst
fill
case
the
scenario.
bathtubs. And it's not so that you have water to bathe in. It's so that you have water to go get a pot of water and boil
Yeah.
a third of it off so that you have some drinkable water,
That's
or
what
so
you're
that
supposed
you
to
can
do
cook
for a
noodles.
zombie apocalypse.
They actually
That
say
kind of stuff.
They actually say if you take a ice tray and you do your faucet, fill it up and freeze that, and then take the same water out of your faucet, boil that, and then put it in another tray. That the one you boil comes out. You know how like you get some ice and it's like got that white, the white stuff. The boiled will be clear.
Yeah.
Huh. So there's less.
Yeah, well, because you
A little bit more
have fewer impurities and things for those crystals to actively
I don't know if
grab
it's
onto.
actually true. I haven't tried.
I mean,
No.
it makes sense that it would be.
No, that's one of the ways that you
Also,
make.
Robert might know. I don't know.
That's one of the ways that.
I don't know.
We'll try it. We'll have a dudes and beer boiling water party.
I know rainwater is clear when you're.
As
Yeah, that's crazy.
as someone who worked in kitchens, I can tell you right now that is one of the ways that you make tempered ice. In order to make ice sculptures and things like that
Boil
that are clear.
Yeah, because it's no impurities inside.
That's right.
That's
You've
neat.
gotten rid of everything
Yeah.
that the crystals
Yeah.
would typically form around to make that hay.
Makes perfect sense.
You've gotten rid of particulate. You've
Although
gotten
actually,
rid
if you
of things.
boil off a third of it, it's increased the. But I guess maybe it's boiled off the volatiles,
Yeah.
or maybe the chlorine
Right.
or something
Exactly.
like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, the gases,
Gases.
inert gases,
Yeah,
things like
that's-
that.
yeah.
Of the cocaine and Viagra.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably what it is. You've taken the gases out of the
Yeah.
water.
All the cocaine
Exactly.
and Viagra comes out when you boil it.
You get rid of the
Comes out. I think it's stronger.
Makes it-
Concentrated
get a-
cocaine.
you go to your friend's house, he's like,
That's a stiff drink.
Man, I made some ramen tonight and distilled that down. Oh my God.
"What's up with Henry over there?
I don't think I'm sleeping for 4 days.
This dude crazy tonight."
I need some more ramen.
For real, dude.
And on that note, Robert, number one, I can't thank you for coming on. I'd love to have you on regularly to talk about stuff like this.
Come on. Yeah.
It's been great having you on. Fun. Where can people go to find out more about what they can do, not only personally, but locally and statewide, as far as our literal, other than oxygen, folks, our most valuable resource on the planet.
Don't privatize my water, my food, and my air.
You can privatize food all you want. Otherwise, you have no McDonald's or Austin's Pizza, as a matter of fact.
Damn, that's fucked up.
That's right. Food is
privatized. Oh, son of a bitch. Dang. Goddamn, I'm caught in the crossfire.
Yeah. So where can they go to find out more about where they can get involved about water conservancy and water rights in Texas, just information about what they can do about water in their life?
There's a Texas Water Foundation you can check out, Texas Water Conservation Association, check out Texas Water Development Board. There's a lot of resources that are out there.
Right.
And then just ask questions. Call up your water provider and go, hey, what do you have for water conservation?
Yeah.
Or how do you support water conservation?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Do you have any rainwater offsets?
Yeah.
Anything
if they say
like
no,
that.
they say, well, why?
Something like that.
Yeah. Because believe it or not, folks, as someone who travels, I'll tell you right now, Jules, if you're staying at hotels or resorts frequently, and it's the same owners, like I stay at a lot of Hyatt properties, a lot of Hilton properties. Hilton's now, a lot of them are green properties. Mm-hmm. And if you...
What the hell that mean?
That means if you're like me... if you're like me... And yeah, that too. If you're like me and you're already one of those people that puts your Do Not Disturb sign up...
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, typically I've got 2 beds.
You can get
so it's like, hey, I don't need you to bring me fresh sheets after day 3. I'm going to hop into bed too.
Dang. Holy shit.
You know what I mean? Like, how filthy am I that I'm going to go through more than 3 towels in 5 days? Well, how dirty am I?
Well, how many times do you see that? You know, leave this out and we won't change your sheets or wash your towels.
Well, and that's everything. The thing.
Yeah.
Regardless.
That's the thing, is that I typically leave that out. If I have trash that needs taken out, I'll leave it outside. And they'll absolutely come take the trash and take it away.
You know,
they will give you extra points now for opting out of room
so
cleaning.
in Disney, if you stay at a moderate or an economy resort, and you just opt out of the room service, they actually take a percentage off of your bill.
Beautiful.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's how it should be, because you are incrementally saving the money on disposal fees for chemicals.
I would never stay at a moderate and an economy, but if that was your thing.
Did you ever go to that room 33 over there at Disney? You know, it costs a lot of money.
No, that's Disneyland.
Oh, she does know, though.
So a couple months ago, I did what you did, was put out the Do Not Disturb, just to keep them out so they wouldn't change the towels and stuff. And after day 2, I got a call from the manager.
That you're still
Are you okay? Are you all right?
In there? What's going on?
And that's one of those things of like why I'll leave something outside. I'll leave a couple used towels outside and they'll replace them.
It's like
things
I'm on
like
a meth
that.
Bender.
They know that you're alive, because my wife used to work in hotels, and she's like, "Oh, they're not allowed to do that." I'm like, "They freaking do it all the time."
No, a lot of them you have to go in like at least every 48 hours. Disney now too. I don't know. I'm like Disney only, but after
everybody's a criminal.
Vegas shooting, you can't put the Do Not Disturb on your room anymore in certain resorts that overlook certain things.
Yeah,
they can always come into your room whenever they want.
They should have done that with Howard Hughes, because he was found dead in his hotel room.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why.
Well, they were a fucking few decades late on that one.
Well, and with all that aside, one of the most important things that we can do is make sure that we daily are doing things like Robert was saying. If you have a dishwasher that is capable and operable, run it. you're going to save 3 to 5 times the amount of water.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a big one. A lot of people have a misconception. I believe.
There's so much that we can do. Once again, where can they go as we close out, Robert, to find out more of this information, more of the programs that they can take part in?
So you can also visit my workplace, www.meadowcenter.txstate.edu, or just Google the Meadow Center for Water, and it'll pop up. You'll find me there and
you can
find out a
actually
lot
just
of information.
Google Robert Mace and Meadow Center.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes up.
Well,
Damn.
Believe it or not.
Rockstar, dude.
Welcome to Google stalking, Robert. That's how I found out
That
about
was
you.
so scary how that fucking sounded so good.
I am well practiced. On that note, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. Thank you once again, Robert, for coming in and talking about the pertinence and the importance of water as a resource to life in general on a daily basis. On that note, everybody, is talking about things that are a resource for life on a daily basis. Go check out the HC Universal Network of podcasts. Go check out our all-new Android app and our soon-to-be iTunes app. We'll talk to you soon. Till next time, if you can't be good, be good. Bye-bye.
Download the official Dudes and Beer app for Android and iDevices, available on Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Breach.tv, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more about our sponsors and other podcasts on this network, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.